All right, people, my name is Tim Black. Welcome to Coffee with Tim Black. This show is brought to you by TimBlackTV.com. Independent media done right. Not Democrats, not Republicans, just people who seek truth. Tune into this show. Become a member of Tim Black's Wolfpack. Show is also brought to you by JustInformed.com, a social media site that does not steal your identity, your privacy, nor sell your privacy, or any of that nonsense. Come to JustInformed.com and become a member. Thank you. Coffee with Tim Black. Coffee with Tim Black. That's right. All right, people, how y'all doing? How's it going? Just trying to let's make sure we're all good, man. Are we good here? Is that doing a lot of feedback? Sounds like it is. Sounds like we got a lot of feedback going on. All right, let's try this again. Get rid of that. Still too loud. All right. Hello, everybody. How you doing? My name is Tim Black. Welcome to the Coffee with Tim Black show. Glad you could join me this afternoon. Welcome, everybody on Periscope, everybody on YouTube, everybody on Facebook. Wow. Happy Friday to you. What a week, right? What a week. Looks like all our settings are go. I'm going to check and make sure our chat people are in the house. Let me get those people set up real quick.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
There we go. Zachary White. Pyramid 7. Karen Mitchell. Good to have you guys. Good to have you guys. All right. Well, I don't know about this. I don't know if the chat's going to be working because, well, I'll try this real quick. If it doesn't work the first time, I'm out. But let me try this. Let's see what happens. Keep me logged in here. Folks, this freaking Facebook has been giving me problems. So I will try this one more time. Every freaking I don't. Every time. Okay, I got a code here. Let me try this code. I want to have my people on Facebook be able to make comments because it's a very important topic that we're discussing. As we all know, the Brett Kavanaugh, Christine Ford testimony took place, and now we're here. There we go. We're connected, guys. Give it up for stuff working. So welcome everybody on Facebook if you're now in there. What's up, Mike S. Hempster Wild? Right? Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Melissa Mary Coon is in the house, and so is Chris Harrell Collins. Nessa's in the house. Hey, Nessa in Hollywood. Give it up for my people on Facebook. Welcome to the show. A couple of people have been wondering, they say, Tim Black, man, why haven't you done the show in the last couple of days? Well, you know, I don't do a night show on Wednesday. And then I didn't do a show yesterday, or Wednesday or Thursday, and today is Friday. And the reason is because I knew what the topic should be. The topic had to be Brett Kavanaugh. The topic had to be Dr. Christine Ford. And the bottom line is I had to watch the entire testimony proceedings. We're talking almost 7 hours worth of material that I needed to watch in order to, I felt, be ethically sound when it comes to discussing this issue. 7 hours of content had to be consumed. And I feel like that was due diligence. I've got 7 pages of notes after watching 7 hours of footage. And that gives me a certain vantage point in which to discuss this, because without it, I don't think I would have felt good about having conversations, putting my thoughts out there. I don't think that would be fair. I don't think it'd be fair to my viewers. So to all my viewers out there who contribute to this show, this is what you contribute for. You contribute so that the people that you rely on for the news, people whose opinions you value, actually take the fucking time to watch the content or to do the research in order to form the opinions that they share with you. And if they don't do that, then I got to question what's their whole motive. I'd also like to say, I didn't watch anybody else's summation of it. So I didn't watch ABC or NBC or CBS or Fox or ESPN or anyone's comment. I didn't, or any independent media, supposedly independent media's content either, in order to form my opinions. My opinions are my own. So you're gonna however you feel about them, just know they come from me. They're not colored in any other perceptions other than my own. So that's our starting point. That's our starting point. And wow, there's so much here, right? I want to start off with Dr. Ford's testimony. She gave this testimony yesterday. There's a lot about it, so I'll just go through the highlights of what I made notes about Dr. Ford, because it's so extensive. I got like 3 pages of her alone. And since you probably have a job where you have certain things that you have to do, you don't have time for the 3 hours or 2 hours plus of just Dr. Ford. So I made the time, and I'll share with you the high points, the points that really stuck out to me that I felt so strongly about them that I took notes, and then we'll elaborate on them, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what I glean about it, and of course you have your own opinions based on your own interpretations. But here we go. Christine Blasey Ford, Blasey, I don't want to say Blasey, Blasey Ford, she started off, I thought she started off very credible. I felt that her testimony, it didn't seem contrived. It seemed pretty straightforward. It seemed pretty deliberate in what she was saying. When she was being asked questions by Grassley, Republican out of Iowa, it was sort of like a random timeline of events. Grassley was belligerently covering, it seemed like covering his own butt, so to speak, the way he was asking her questions. There was a lot of trying not to seem misogynistic, not to seem chauvinistic, and also not to seem as a political hack, so to speak. A lot of that was going on. I think she responded pretty admirably to all of that. The only background in history to be stopped due to derogatory information coming forward. Kavanaugh's alleged accomplice has not been subpoenaed, shows no regard for Dr. Ford, and has not been questioned by the FBI. So I thought that Grassley didn't show much regard for Dr. Ford's testimony. In fact, he was just there to sort of like stand up for the Republican senators. That's how I felt. That's how it came across to me. In fact, there was a point where Amy Klobuchar, she had to sort of reel in Grassley. This was early on in the proceedings where it was like Grassley was really like getting at Dr. Ford, and I thought Amy Klobuchar stepped in. I think it's important to know, because it's not covered, I don't think, nearly enough, that Christine Ford, she told her therapist about a situation, an incident that occurred to her with Kavanaugh back in 2012. She talked about the incident more than once. She was talking to her therapist. So she didn't say, oh, I'm going to talk about this now. It's 2018 and he's about to be nominated. Ooh, I can get in there right in time. So let me hurry up and do this. This is something that she's been dealing with in her life based on her testimony, based on records that can be corroborated with her therapist. At least as recent, or at least as far back as 2012. So it kind of knocks out the whole notion, oh, she's just making it up because she wants to stop. She don't like Trump. So she's doing this to him and to herself because, you know. It's also important to point out that prosecutor Rachel Mitchell was hired by the Senate Judiciary Committee for the Republicans to question Christine Ford because, well, they didn't like the optics of how it would look for their election possibilities, badgering a woman about what she says happened to her. Sort of, you know what I mean? They didn't even want to have to deal with that potential fallout from constituents, from voters, just being on the other side of this going, hey, well, so you said this happened. Is this really what happened? You know, that type of thing. So that's why Karen Mitchell was there to question, woman to woman, question another woman about, you know. And I thought Miss Mitchell did a good job. I thought she was respectful. Don't get me twisted. I thought Miss Mitchell was respectful. She did her job well, I guess. I don't know what they told her to do, but I just think she was given questions by the senators, and she presented those questions well. I'm not saying they were great questions. All I'm saying is I thought Miss Mitchell did a good job of doing her job. Okay? I think it's also important to point out, once again, as it goes to credibility, it's not just how I feel about Dr. Ford, it's about things she did. So not only did she tell her therapist on more than one occasion about this situation, this incident that occurred with Kavanaugh, she also told her husband during the therapy sessions they discussed it because they were having issues or whatever, okay? But also, even add more to that, she took a polygraph. And she passed the polygraph that her statements were actually true, that she was being factual with her statements about the incidents concerning Brett Kavanaugh. The polygraph tester was available to testify, but the Senate Republicans rejected his testimony. They didn't want to hear from the polygraph tester, who could have provided information about the polygraph and the results of the polygraph. They didn't want it. He or her, I don't know if it was a man or a woman. But Senate Republicans didn't want to hear from him or her. But Grassley made a point to say, well, we want the reports. Well, you could have had the reports. We offered them not only the reports, we offered you the tester. And you told us no. But now that we're here and she's testifying, now you want to ask for reports. Doesn't make much sense. So around July 2018, Christine Ford, I think it was it July 2018, Ford contacted a congressperson, which is Anna Eshoo. And she contacted the Washington Post. She didn't get a response from them immediately. She didn't get a response from the Washington Post, nor did she get a response from a congressperson. So she stated that she wanted to contact she wanted to contact her congressperson. She did not want to go to the media. She went to her congressperson. She thought it was better to go that direction with her local congressperson about a political issue, as opposed to going to the media. doesn't really play in well with the scenario. Oh, she's doing all of this because, you know, she wants publicity from the media. So that's not really working too well, that particular line of talk. When you have someone, let's see if we can do this better. There we go. I got this all set up. I might as well use it, right? Aesthetics matter sometimes, right? Okay, so let me get a couple things here on the record now that I got this nice graphic up here. So my son TJ, when we do the editing, will have it. I'm not saying that Dr. Ford is credible based on my gut feelings, mannerisms that she projected when she was giving testimony, a gleam in her eye. I'm saying it's because of the things that she did pursuant to the testimony, pursuant to this whole incident, the way that she you can corroborate her statements where she says, I spoke to my therapist about this in 2012 and 2013, well before Kavanaugh was nominated for anything. That gives credence to her credibility. She took a polygraph exam. They offered to have the polygraph tester come in and testify, and the Senate Republicans rejected that opportunity. She contacted her local congressperson back in July and said, this is what's going on. At the time when she contacted her congressperson, Brett Kavanaugh was not the nominee. It was before he was the nominee. She was hoping that they would respond and they could investigate this before he became the nominee. Those are her words. I can't prove it. I'm telling you what she testified. She testified that she wanted to get this out there before he was a nominee so someone else could become the nominee, not after he was a nominee. Remember, there are other judges that Donald Trump could have went with. He did not have to go with Brett Kavanaugh. And there are still other people that Donald Trump could try to appoint and get confirmed that are not Kavanaugh. He's not the only judge in the world that could sit on the bench if he's approved by or picked by the president. There was another part in here, another point that was made, and I did not list who said this, but I think it's important because what we're getting is a lot of pushback from a lot of people about the fact that to them the allegations look suspicious. Why didn't you tell anybody sooner? She did tell some people sooner, maybe not soon enough for you, but she did tell some people, according to testimony, according to what she says her therapist can attest to. 2/3 of sexual assault victims never report the incident to law enforcement. This is not about her. This is about what we generally know in law enforcement. And you can look that up and you'll find that's an accurate number, all right? She was also 15 years old when this happened. If you believe it happened, that's up to you. But she was 15 years old when she says this thing happened. 15 years old. When asked if there were political motivations for her coming forward, Christine Ford answered no. Now that was Senator Hirono out of, I think, Hawaii? Hirono? Is there a political motivation with you coming forth with this information? And Dr. Ford said no, there wasn't. When she came forward, there were still other candidates who were available, as I just stated. She's received death threats. She's had to move her family. So, not a whole lot has been gained. Not. If anything, there hasn't been anything gained on her side. There hasn't been anything gained as far as notoriety that's positive for either her or for Brett Kavanaugh. Not when you got to uproot your family. Not when you're getting death threats. Not when so. Dr. Ford testified that she does not know still how this became public. She only spoke to reporters at the Washington Post. I think it was the Washington Post. She only spoke about it publicly when reporters began coming, how can I say this? When reporters started coming to her house and coming to her place of business, that's when she went public. She felt like she had no choice. They weren't going to leave the story alone. They were showing up at her house. There you go. A lot of grandstanding and patting Ford on the head is what occurred during this. And that's on both sides, all right? We got Democrats patting her on the head. Oh, you're so great. Oh, amazing. She's an amazingly strong woman. And we have Republicans gingerly, doing the same thing, basically. A lot of grandstanding, a lot of politics being played. Of course, this is politics. This is the epitome of politics, what we're witnessing. But there was a lot of that. A whole lot of it. A prosecutor for the Senate Republicans repeatedly asked about any money that was given to Dr. Ford, as if she was paid to do this. She was paid to bring up this, this incident. Her lawyers interjected that they were working pro bono, they're not being paid. Dr. Ford says there's a couple of GoFundMes. She has not removed the money or transferred the money to herself. She didn't know how to do that yet. She's never had a GoFundMe, but the public has donated money for her security, travel, and to help with expenses. So, yeah. Under penalty of perjury, or under penalty of felony, three people that were named in Dr. Ford's testimony, or named in Dr. Ford's allegations of what happened 36 years ago with Brett Kavanaugh, Mark Judge, Miss Leland Kaiser, and Patrick Smith, all deny having any recollection of such event occurring. So they do not back up her story. And that's under penalty of felony. Submit statements denying any knowledge of the gathering which Ford described. Okay. So there you go. There you have what I have on Christine Ford. Now, Kristen Blasey Ford, I just want to say, for the record, how I feel about it. I feel that her credibility, I think, is sound. I've interviewed a number of people, and I think I've gotten to a point where I can kind of tell when someone's full of shit. Whether you want to hear it or want to accept it or not, I'm just telling you what I feel. What I feel is Dr. Ford did not get up on that stand and fabricate a story. The story never changed. I know it's anecdotal to some, but I don't recall many people who lie to law enforcement saying, hey, bring in the FBI, I want to lie to them, which could result in jail time. That's something liars typically do. Also, she didn't meander with her storytelling. She didn't go around the bend. Once again, I've interviewed people who I think were being a little less than honest at times. Right? You know a few people I've interviewed. And I didn't sense that with Dr. Ford. I sensed that she was being pretty direct, as direct as can be expected in some situation that took place many years ago. Now, if we think back to being, if you try to think back 20 years ago, can you remember exactly what day something took place? Can you remember exactly what hour it took place? I mean, I remember things from 20 years ago. Remembering things from 30 years ago, 35 years ago, gets really difficult. But if something traumatic happens, I think it's fair to say you can remember that happening. You may not remember some other things about what time of day it was, what the date was. So I do believe that there are things that you could pull at and say, hey, she can't tell you this and she can't tell you that. But I think overall, in my assessment, because I don't know Dr. Ford, I don't know Brett Kavanaugh, I have a sense of them from watching the entire testimony of both these individuals. I do have a sense of them, my own interpretation, my own perception of them, but I owe neither one of them anything. And based on what I watched, I believed Dr. Ford, I believe her. I believe something happened. I believe that something that happened involved Brett Kavanaugh. I do not believe that she is fabricating a story in order to stop Brett Kavanaugh. We'll get more to that later, but that's how I feel about Dr. Ford's testimony. Now, fair is fair. Wow, feel like I'm testifying a little bit. All right? Excuse me, guys. Excuse me. All right. Kavanaugh started off with an opening statement. He was a little different than Christine Ford. Christine Ford just started talking. Kavanaugh was prepared with what he wanted to say. He talked about how he had spent time the night before writing it. Then he had one of his former clerks read it over. So he prepared an opening statement just like he would if he was trying a case. That's why it's so important to listen to what he said. These are prepared remarks from a judge. Not saying they aren't authentic. I am saying they are prepared remarks from a judge. There was a lot less questioning in the first hour or so of him talking. It was just him talking about how he felt. And boy, did he have a lot of feelings. Kavanaugh started off saying initially, hey, I didn't do this. I did not do this. What she accused me of, I did not do. Ford publicly accused me of actions during high school. I deny her accusations. These accusations, she said, took place 36 years ago. And he denied them. He says that any type of investigation that is done will clear him. He said he was not at the party that Ford describes, and that the left was just trying to come up with things to block his nomination. Kavanaugh chastised Democratic senators. He got visibly angry. He was really pissed off about Democratic senators and what he felt is a witch hunt and a smear campaign to destroy his life, all because they are Hillary supporters who don't like Trump and want to get back at Trump and are using Kavanaugh and his family in order to do so. He says this is all about revenge on behalf of Hillary Clinton or the Clintons. Calculated, orchestrated political hit with apparent pent-up anger about President Trump and the 2016 election. Revenge on behalf of the Clintons. He said this was a circus, the whole thing. The entire investigation was a circus. I will not be intimidated. I will not withdraw. I'm not backing down. He said, he said this, he said this very sternly. He said he had never sexually assaulted anyone in high school, in college, or ever. He denied the allegations straight across the board. And he came after Senate Democrats. And he came after the left. And he came after Hillary Clinton. And he said it's all because they were upset about the 2016 election. He did make a point to make it clear that he said, I'm not questioning if Dr. Ford has been sexually assaulted. He's saying if she was, it wasn't by him. He's saying, maybe there's there are definitely, not maybe, he's saying he believes there's a case of mistaken identity, that she has the wrong guy. Period. Kavanaugh, at some point, started crying. Speaking about his daughter, was one point where he cried because his daughter said, hey, we should pray for the lady. His daughter's 10 years old, and then he got choked up talking about his daughter and saying they raised their daughter right because their daughter's like, let's support Christine Ford, Dr. Ford. And that was touching when he brought up his daughter. He also pointed out that when they bring up FBI background searches or investigations, that he's already subjected himself to 6 FBI background investigations over the course of his political or his professional career. I hope I remember to close with this because I kind of want to bring this up because I think it's important. Kavanaugh talked a lot about his time, his career, and all of the great things he's been able to do. Kavanaugh said he's traveled the world. 2001 to 2006 is working as staff secretary for George W. Bush. Kavanaugh spoke about his father, and I want to say when he spoke about his father, it seemed authentic to me. He spoke about his father and how his father taught him, how his father kept these extensive diaries, and Kavanaugh started keeping diaries. And once again, it felt authentic. I didn't feel, that was contrived. Okay. Kavanaugh went on to give an accounting of the summer of 1982. 1982 is the year in which Christine Ford says this happened. Okay. And he pointed out that any weekend night in 1982, the summer of 1982, that he would have either been out of town or he would have been at some other event. That no time on the weekends of the summer of 1982 was he at these parties or at this party that Christine Ford said he was at. Kavanaugh's meltdown about Kavanaugh, I want to point out, Kavanaugh had a meltdown on a number of things. He melted down often. In fact, Kavanaugh melted down more than Christine Ford. There's a lot more visible emotion of being pissed off and angry or very sad or like the change in mood happened more often with Kavanaugh than with Christine Ford. And I just want to point this out because I think if it would have been the other way around, where Christine Ford was showing such swings of emotion, people would have discounted her testimony and said that she was erratic or unhinged. Don't you think? That's what I think. Like there was one point where Kavanaugh was crying, remembering his friends, time he spent with his friends, how the good times they had. And I thought he was going to say his friends had died. I mean, if you're crying about your friends and you're reminiscing about old times because you wrote in your diary about the times you were with your friends, not really germane to the conversation at all. But those friends were in the courtroom. These aren't friends who passed away dramatically or untimely deaths. They were there, and he's crying about them. And I felt that was inauthentic. That felt contrived to me. I mean, I got friends, if they're in the courtroom, and I'm just saying, I remember the time we used to hang out, and we did this, and we did that. That would make me cry. Now, Mr. Waterworks was crying about it, and I didn't feel like that was real to me. Didn't resonate. It's just my opinion. It's what I got from it. My perception of his prepared remarks. We haven't even got to questions yet. This is him prepared remarks. So he was so emotional about remarks he said he prepared the day before that he vetted and had his former law clerk read over, and now he's presenting them. And he's a lawyer. He's a judge. And now he's crying about them. Remarks he's already been over. And don't tell me he didn't read over these before. He got there to testify. So, to me, it seemed inauthentic. seemed scripted, seemed rehearsed. That's how I see it. Now, now this is before question. This is important. Yeah, this is before question. He brought up about beer, because we know this whole incident is about a drunken Brett Kavanaugh who did something despicable, horrible, hurtful, and criminal back in 1982 at a party, and the victim was Dr. Christine Ford. That is the allegation. That's what's been said. And not only was it Brett Kavanaugh, but also Mark Judge, a friend of Brett Kavanaugh, that were there. The three of them in the room. This is what, allegedly, accordingly to Ms. Ford, this is what happened. And like I already stated, I believe something happened in that room. I don't believe she made that up. But, so this, the point of it is, well, the thing I want to get to is, Dr. Ford said this happened, he was drunk. He was drunk. He was pretty drunk when this happened. And Brett Kavanaugh doesn't deny. He said, I like beer. I still like beer. Back during this time, the drinking age in Maryland was 18. Since then, it's turned to 21, but it was 18 at the time. Same thing in D.C. The drinking age was 18 at the time. But he said he never drank until blacking out, and he never sexually assaulted anyone while drinking, or at all. But he drank a lot, and he was a kid. He was 17, and he was drinking. Kavanaugh got choked up again about his yearbook entries as he and his friends look back at them now, because they've come up in media where people are looking at his yearbook, and he feels really bad about some of the entries that he made in his yearbook. Once again, that's something I would feel that you need to be choked up about. I feel like he was trying to play a viewer, play like, I don't know, what are you choked up about? You know, I didn't get it. I didn't get why you would cry about yearbook entries. I just don't get it. I want to point out, and also he painted this picture of him being a very shy guy who was a virgin. They didn't ask him. We're still at the part where he's reciting his prepared remarks. He is reading from his prepared remarks. Repaired, that's pretty good. Prepared remarks. He talks about being a virgin. He talks about being shy. Not just a virgin during high school, but even many years after high school. He still hadn't had sex. No one asked him. He offered that information. Kavanaugh said he was religious and he did not engage in any sexual activity. One of the things that stuck out, and I made a note of this, Kavanaugh acted as if he didn't already have an amazing life. You know, he acted like this being confirmed as Supreme Court Justice was like this thing that would make his life really great, and he already had a great life. He already has a great life. He's worked for presidents. He said himself, he's risen to the heights of government, the heights of public service. He's already done that. He's already traveled the world. He named all the places that he's been, both in the United States, across the globe, traveling with President George W. Bush. It's not as if he hasn't been extremely successful up to this point. He's already on the second highest court in America. Some people call the D.C. Circuit Court the second highest court in the world, in the country. He's a judge there. Why are we acting as if, oh, poor Kavanaugh, he's got a good shot to do this great thing? He's already been doing great things and living a very great, amazing life. More amazing than 99.9% of people in America. Who have jobs anyway. Now we get to questions. Durbin asked Kavanaugh to request an FBI investigation. Grassley interrupted while Durbin was trying to get Kavanaugh to ask the FBI to investigate. Kavanaugh kept saying, hey, he welcomed any investigation that the Senate Republicans decided that needed to happen. But he would not. He fell short. He would not go so far as to say, hey, give me an FBI investigation. He just kept saying, if you guys want me to do it, I'll do it. Will you do it? Will you tell them to do it? If they want me to do it, I'll do it. Will you tell them, will you request it? Will you reach out to Donald Trump and say, President Trump, I'd like to have the FBI look at this so I can clear my name? And he's like, if they want me to be in front of the FBI, I will. But he wouldn't say that he wanted it, or he would not agree to requesting it. But he wants his name clear, but he wouldn't agree to an FBI investigation. He even pointed out, he said if the FBI did investigate him, they would not have any findings, they would just make a report. Lindsey Graham gave testimony about Kavanaugh. He didn't really ask much questions, but once again, this is a political time. It's a platform, and everyone's watching. It's a good opportunity for politicians to politic, to work on their re-election, to campaign. That's what they were using this time for. Lindsey Graham did a really good job of campaigning. He said that the Democrats had destroyed this guy's life. They want to hold this seat open and hope to win in 2020. He went so far to say that this was the most unethical sham that he's ever seen since he's been in politics. Most unethical sham he's ever seen was right here with Kavanaugh being accused of being a sexual assaulter. That's the worst he's ever seen. It got me thinking how long Lindsey Graham has been in politics. So he didn't think George W. Bush bringing us to war under false pretenses was horrible. No, he didn't think that was the biggest sham. He didn't think it was a huge sham when Barack Obama ran on getting the bankers and getting everybody who put us in the recession, the Great Recession, and then turned around and bailed out the banks and didn't bail out the families that lost their homes. He didn't consider that the biggest sham. No, the biggest sham is this one guy. One guy. Here he is. One guy being uncomfortable, being embarrassed and feeling bad, maybe being falsely accused. I'll give him that. There's no way to really know, right? But I said it. I believe that something happened in that room. But what I'm saying is Lindsey Graham acted. He said, no, he didn't act. He said it, guys. He said, biggest sham in politics that I've ever seen. And he was here with mission accomplished by Bush, which was lies. He was here when Katrina happened. He was here. He's been here with Puerto Rico. He's been here with Standing Rock. He's been here with the TPP. He's been here with all of this horrific shit that has occurred over the last 20 years. And to him, those are not the biggest shams. You know what? If you believe the biggest sham in our politics over the last 20 years is Kavanaugh having to answer tough questions, or Kavanaugh being, even if you believe, falsely accused, well, damn it, you actually are the biggest sham in politics, if that's what you believe. Give it up for that. Total BS. But plays well, running for re-election and all. He didn't stop there, man. I told you Lindsey Graham was grandstanding. Lindsey Graham, grandstander. He said, my fellow Republican colleagues, if you vote no, you are legitimizing the most despicable thing I've seen in politics. He was very angry, very impassioned in support of Kavanaugh. Poor Kavanaugh. Poor Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh He got defensive when he was asked about his yearbook entries. Kavanaugh talked about drinking games in his yearbook. If you're going to make an accusation, we insist that he needs to corroborate the evidence. We are not a police state. I forget who said this. Someone brought this up. It's not I think it was Grassley. It's not a police state. You can't just make accusations without corroborating evidence. We're not in a court of law, and you already knew that's what they were there to do today. To make accusations and answer accusations. That's the whole point of the testifying. That's exactly what you do in a confirmation hearing. That's exactly what you're doing testifying in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, is ask questions and table accusations. That's the whole purpose of it. That's what you're being paid to do. But to Grassley, my God. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There were things, Avignati, lawyer for Stormy Daniels, recent allegations that Kavanaugh participated in the gang rape. Yeah, you need evidence for that shit, right? But allegations are allegations, right? I don't feel good about that. I don't trust Avignati. I think Avignati is a scumbag. Well, I think Avignati is a scumbag. Stormy Daniels' lawyer is a scumbag. That's what I think. It's not because I'm a Trump supporter. I'm not. I just think he is. I think he's getting his 20 minutes of fame off of it, and I think people are buying into it because they dislike Trump that much that they'll listen to a scumbag lawyer who they normally wouldn't listen to at all. But now they listen to him because he serves a purpose. Klobuchar, Amy Klobuchar. She asked Kavanaugh to request that the president allow an FBI investigation. We kept having this. FBI investigation. Allow an FBI investigation. Allow an FBI investigation. Every Democrat asked the same thing. And every time Kavanaugh in a different way said the same thing. Well, if they have it, if that happens, I'll do what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not asking for shit. Goes to credibility. You know, one could argue if you say you had 6 FBI investigations, none of those FBI investigations had anything to do with this. None of them. But if you've been through 6, why not go through one more? You know, because you're about to have a job that's a job for life. More powerful than the president. People realize being a Supreme Court justice is more powerful than being a president, that this is a job for life. Do you realize the significance of the job, the power that an appointee wields? Controls the fate of the country in some regards. This is not something that should be taken lightly. It's a big deal. Because, hey, there are people saying, well, you know, we got Trump, but he can only be what? Hopefully he only lasts a term. Sometime maybe he might last 2 terms. But that would be it. No matter how much you dislike Trump, the most he can do is 8 years. A Chief Justice is forever, dude. Ladies, gentlemen, dudes, dudettes, my people, fam, homies, forever. As long as they want, unless they get thrown off the bench. Get what I'm saying? Anyway, now there was one part that got really contentious between Klobuchar and Kavanaugh. Klobuchar asked her, she says, have you ever drank so much you couldn't remember what happened? Instead of answering, Kavanaugh got pissed off. And he asked Klobuchar if she had. And when she said no, he said, well, neither have I. Now, the bad thing about this was that what Klobuchar had in that conversation, she told him personally, like, look, hey, I understand, you know, my dad is alcoholic. He's been battling that addiction his entire life. And at 90 years old, he's still a part of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. So if that's your issue, I understand. And you've related that you relayed to us that you like to drink. So is it possible that you may have done some things and just don't remember doing them? Well, Kavanaugh didn't like that much, and he hit back at it. Now, a lot of people probably covered that, and like I stated, I didn't watch. I don't want to be contaminated with other people's thoughts. I want to have my own thoughts and give them to you clean, and not be influenced by other people. But something tells me people who covered Kavanaugh hitting that. Something tells me folks that covered Kavanaugh smacking back at or hitting back at Amy Klobuchar left out the part after that, because they went to a break right after it, right? When he came back, the first thing Kavanaugh did was apologize for answering that question with a question and being snippy about it. Amy Klobuchar accepted his apology. I thought that was decent of Brett Kavanaugh. Now, it's possible that it was tactical. Maybe on the break, he talked with friends or family and we're like, you know what, you shouldn't have done that. That wasn't too cool. That made you look a little bad. Maybe you should clean it up. In fact, I think that's probably what happened. But be that as it may, he still did the act. See, we can't be so concerned with why people do things, which we will never really know. Those are guesstimations of why people do stuff. We can, it's hard enough keeping track of what people do. So let's focus on what people did and give people credit for what they did. And what I'm saying is, I didn't like when he hit back at Amy Klobuchar. Because dude has said, look, Brett Kavanaugh said he loved drinking beer. And we got all these yearbook entries of him drinking beer. We have people saying he drank a lot. And now he's admitting he loves to drink. I think it's a very honest question to say, hey, you ever drink so much you don't remember what happened? People keep saying Dr. Ford got it wrong. Maybe you just don't remember what you did because you was drunk. I think that's a fair question to make. So when Kavanaugh hit back, what about you? Do you ever drink so much you don't remember? Like, that seemed petty. So I was glad that he cleared it up, and I'm glad that he addressed it, and I'm glad that he apologized, because that's what you should do in that situation. In fact, that's what he should have done. Now, after he apologized, of course, the Senate Republicans who sensed a little bit of blood in the water because he had to apologize for something, which is never good. Not from an optic standpoint, not from Kavanaugh, Judge Kavanaugh. They proceeded to do more grandstanding. It was more comments, more grandstanding by politicians trying to make points. Most of this is a wasted time. It's a waste of time. Most of it was a waste of time. And everyone who started speaking after this break, after Kavanaugh apologized, were wasting my damn time. I felt like, oh my God, I just wasted so much of my life that I can't get back, because I got to sit through politician after politician, try to get camera time, trying to campaign for re-election. Now, that is dirty, and that is politics. That's what they did. Then I realized that, you know what, guys, there's sure are a lot of white senators. White male senators, too. A lot of guys, a lot of white guys. It's like white guy after white guy defending white guy. Like after. And some of them tried to act like they were really upset, too. This was a travesty. It really pisses me off what they're doing to this man. You know? If they could only be so upset about our freaking medical bills, they could be only as upset with, I don't know, our inability to take care of our veterans, our inability to take care of our children, our inability, the fact that almost 40% of black children live beneath the poverty line. If they could only be as upset about that as they are Kavanaugh, Bretty boy over here, having a hard day, well, maybe I'd, feel a bit better about him. And maybe then when people say, Tim, won't you vote Republican? Well, maybe that shit would make sense, or maybe it wouldn't land so flatly in the bottom of my file 13, which is my garbage can. I mean, at least the Democrats lie to me about caring. Republicans don't even pretend to care about those issues. But I digress. Back to this. Um, Kavanaugh hit at Blumenthal for bringing up yearbook entries about a female student. He got pissed off and started crying again. Even though he had brought it up. Like, he brought it up during his opening statement that was prepared remarks. And now that this guy Blumenthal is bringing it up, in response to him bringing it up, now he's so hurt that now he's going to start getting choked up again. Didn't seem genuine to me. At one point, Kavanaugh was questioned by Maisie Hironu. She hit Kavanaugh for his drunken innuendos about how much he drank and it was too much, and who knows, but it's important to know, that Kavanaugh was a heavy drinker or whatever. Now, as I was looking at this, it kind of stuck at me, and I went and printed it out. I'm not saying, when I went in on Lindsey Graham and I said I didn't agree with him at all, and I kind of took him to task because he was saying this was the biggest sham we've ever seen in politics, as long as he's been in politics. I don't mean that it's not a sham. Oh, it's a sham. It's just not the worst one. There are worse shams. For instance, it is very despicable that a number of people that are testifying, a number of them use that opportunity to testify, then to just turn around and try to go raise fundraising for their campaigns. Yeah, this little camera time they got where they're like questioning Kavanaugh. That next day, that night, they're like emailing their people, hey, I need to be out here working for you, but since I gotta, be up here and trying to hold Kavanaugh accountable, I'm going to need you to help kick in some dollars because my opponent is gaining on me. Hironu. Maisie Hironu, re-election campaign on Thursday, apologized for sending a fundraising email regarding the assault allegations made against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh by Professor Christine Blasey Ford. The email, which was entitled "Asking for a Minute to Explain Kavanaugh," and cast the Hawaii senator as too busy to fundraise because she was entirely focused on investigating Kavanaugh. So basically, hey, send me money because I'm working so hard for you guys trying to get this Kavanaugh scumbag. So once again, just because Lindsey Graham's wrong about saying this is the worst shame in political history, doesn't mean it's not a shame. It is a shame. It's just not the worst. On a scale of shamery, I give it 3 apples and 2 acorns. Kavanaugh did lie under oath about drinking to the point of being blacked out. I felt he did. I felt that was pretty much proven by friends of his who said, hey, he does drink a lot, and him saying that he's never drank so much that he forgot what he did is just not true. I know because I drank with him, said a friend. I mean, if you want to tout these signatures from females that said, he was a great guy, he never tried to molest me, well, we also want to hold in just high regard, the similar high regard, someone who's saying, yeah, he used to drink a whole lot. To the point where he didn't remember stuff he did. I know because I was with him drinking a whole lot. And also, there's all these entries of you being a kid saying, yeah, we're getting tore down. I throw up a lot from drinking. Like you have that in writing. And not other people's thoughts, your own thoughts about drinking. Your own recollections at the time when you were a kid saying, hey, I really threw up last night. We got tore down. And then when people saying, well, did you drink too much? Oh, no, we were just kids. We didn't. Well, you did. We're almost done. The award for biggest bloviating jackass goes to Ted Cruz. Oh, he bloviated something tremendous. I don't know that much about Beto O'Rourke, but I know that Ted Cruz is despicable. He just is. I want to say this, and sort of wrap this up. It was hard to watch all of this footage. It was hard to watch this garbage. It's just political showmanship. It's political gamesmanship. That's what it is. I don't think anybody really can deny it who's being honest at all. We got a bunch of politicians jockeying for position, trying to make themselves look better for re-election. And at the end of the day, what does it mean? We're no closer to really knowing what Kavanaugh did on that day than what we were when we first went in. I think Christine Ford's testimony, I found incredible. As I stated, I believed her. It seemed believable what she was saying. She wasn't fishing for words to say, to sound a certain kind of way. She wasn't backtracking and doing things that I've seen people do, okay, who I felt were less than honest. I felt that Brett Kavanaugh, there were points where he was being sincere about things, about his child, about his father, about how hard he felt he worked to be who he is. But there are things I felt that he wasn't sincere about. Like the part about the FBI investigation that he should have gladly said, hey, do it. He should have also offered to take a polygraph instead of saying, well, polygraphs are not admissible in court. Well, she took one, and you should have said, hey, I didn't do shit. Let me take one, too. He's been around the system long enough to know that would have worked well for him. And he avoided doing certain things and offering certain solutions that he should have offered if he, in fact, didn't do any of the things that she says he did. That's what I think about it. I think that Kavanaugh is like I stated. He's a pompous, arrogant elitist who spent a life of doing very well for himself, and he's not used to being subjected to questions, being on the chopping block and have people say mean things about him. I don't think everything that was said about him is fair. I don't. I think some things, people go too far. But that's what happens when you're in the public eye. But I think that Brett Kavanaugh is no friend to the working man. I think he doesn't even know what the hell that means. I don't know why people think that makes people a good Chief Justice or a good judge or a good chief, police chief or whatever. I just don't think it does. Not impressed with that. I think he's too haughty, too pompous, too arrogant. He could have sat there, maintained his emotions, been more circumspect, less angry. And I thought, oh man, it's really nice to be a rich white guy who's not used to people talking down to you or being pissed off or in certain things or accusing you of things. It's really nice being a guy who never has to deal with that. Never has to deal with people making accusations. Then I realized, yeah, we do live in two different worlds. And you know what? It must be nice, and I'll never experience it. There's a lot that happened during his testimony for Brett Kavanaugh and exposed once again that we live in very different America. So at the end of the day, what will happen? Well, here's what happened. The Senate Judiciary Committee has voted 11-10 along party lines to advance Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination and send him to the floor for a full Senate vote. The panel's approval brings Kavanaugh one step closer to confirmation to the High Court, something he had previously appeared on track to achieve despite an explosive hearing on sexual assault allegations against him that took place. So after all of this, he's advancing to the next step. It's as I stated on Facebook 3 weeks ago. All of this is show. I'm not saying the Democrats shouldn't fight. As I've stated before, they should have did their fighting last year. Hell, 2 years ago. Back in 2016 when they nominated Hillary Clinton. They should have fought harder to either make Hillary run a campaign that actually resonated with human beings, not just her friends, but also voters. Okay? Or got behind a candidate who, based on all the polling at the current time, at that time, Bernie Sanders was doing much better than Hillary Clinton. And then we wouldn't be in this situation. As people have been saying over and over again, and they're right, elections have consequences, and one of them is having chief justices that you don't like may be appointed to the bench. The highest court in the land. That's what we have. So also, I think they have some type of agreement that they will look to postpone or get an FBI investigation going. So they're going to move it along the process, but also have the FBI take a look I think that's going to happen, okay? But he is going on to the next step. There you have it. That's what I've come away with. That's how I feel about it. That's my analysis of Brett Kavanaugh, of Dr. Christine Ford, Judge Kavanaugh testimony in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Do with it as you may. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this presentation. Thank you for watching Coffee with Tim Black. We're back tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for another serving of Freedom Friday. That's where you get to call in and you get to say how you feel about a situation. You get to talk about the news you think that's been overlooked, or you can talk about this. It's up to you. The floor is open. The topics are open. Hope you be here. Remember, this show is not brought to you by the DNC or the GOP. That's why it's honest. If you disagree with me, you disagree with me. Just because I tell you that I don't support either party, that I support truth, and I go wherever that truth takes me, does not mean I'm going to support Trump or Kavanaugh or support, I don't know, Kamala Harris. Doesn't. Just means wherever the truth takes me is where I'm going. And a couple people have like, Tim, you should be supporting Kavanaugh. Don't you know what the Democrats have done? It's got nothing to do with what I believe in this particular situation. To call out Brett Kavanaugh for what I think is not being as honest as he could be, as he should be, is not to support the Democrats. It's to support truth. If you feel differently because, I don't know, you're so pissed off with the Democrats that you can't see this elitist prick is not being forthcoming, that's on you. All right? Just make sure, I'm just glad you don't get to make big decisions for the rest of us. Because my feelings about the Democratic Party and whatever shortcomings they have, which are many, do not color my ability to be able to look at Brett Kavanaugh and for hours upon hours listen to him talk and realize that he's not being as straight with me as some people think he is. I think that Dr. Ford was being pretty straight. I think something happened. I don't think she made it up. All right, guys. I'll see you soon. Become a member of my show. Become a member of the Wolf Pack. Go to patreon.com, Tim's Take Live. Join me as Real Tim Black on Facebook and on Twitter. And I'm also on Instagram as Tim Black at Night. I'll see you soon. And sit. Now let me go to my chat and see what the chat is. Woo! Well, it's been so long since I've been here. It's a lot of talking, man. But hey, I did it. Oh, man. Oh, right. Here we go. Thank you for sharing it, Jay Rohn. I appreciate you. Lawrence, thank you, Lori. Two-party duopoly is a nightmare. Wake up. Schultze says, nice rundown. Peace. Thank you, Schultze, for that. I appreciate you. Michelle W. Yeah, Michelle, you got to do what you got to do. Unsubscribe. That's fine. You weren't a donator or supporter of the show anyway. Peace to you. What is wrong with people? She actually used. Why am I wasting time on that? Yeah, there you go. Oh man. So here we go. Thank you, PG O'Hearn. What's going on, PG O'Hearn? Lori Root Riley. Glad not to be looking at Kavanaugh's face. I hear you. He talked for a long time. I had to get through it. Thank you, Steve Wolfbrandt. Broken Ass, I appreciate you. Kush, what's up, Kush? Brian Cosby, thank you. Natural Progressive, thank you as well. Thank you all for tuning in, man. Moonchild. Moonchild's cut Sassy Lindsey Graham. Sassy Lindsey Graham. Oh, man. He did get sassy. He got pissed off there. He really did. Mr. Broken Ass, he makes a comment. Thank you, Mr. Broken Ass. He made a comment in a super chat donation. Thank you, my brother. You know, I can always count on you. I always count on you for supporting the show, man. Thank you. He said this. He said, you are missing the entire point. Almost all of his files were classified, 98%, and Congress was given next to nothing about his time in the Bush White House. That's the real scandal no one is talking about. Listen to that. Yeah. That was the conversation in the beginning, and then it became this spectacle, right? So in the beginning, that was it. That no one was given access to the files about also some rulings, right? Weren't there a lot of redactions of documents or something? I remember that in the beginning, but it got overshadowed with what? It got overshadowed with sex and intrigue. That's what happens all the time, right? So, but your good point. I want to thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate it. I tell you, spot on. That's why I love my people, man. My people on top of stuff. They really are. Look, man, what I'm going to do now, there we go. And there we go. Bam, got out of here. Michelle W. Michelle W. has left the building? Yeah, she's left the building. Bye, Michelle. Love ya. All right, guys, look. Michelle and anybody else, call in tonight. Call in tonight to the show, 319-527-6212. In fact, I'm going to put this up on the screen now because, hey, there's nothing we love more than people calling up disagreeing with shit, because that's what we are all about. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing about an issue, right? So here goes the phone number. I'm putting it up now for anybody who wants to grab a screenshot or write down the phone number. This is the number you call in tonight to voice your concerns and speak your mind. I'm willing to hear it. Michelle W. is so certain that Miss Ford lied. Well, Michelle, call in tonight. There goes the phone number. Call in and make your claim. State your claim. All right? Fine to do. Just hope you have some validity or some factual information to give you that impression. Everyone has an opinion. What's yours based on? I've interviewed at least 100 people. I kind of know when people are lying. What is your basis for knowing when somebody's lying? What are you basing your assertion on? That's all I'm gonna ask you. And have that ready, because I think that's a good question. Like, you say someone's lying, tell me why. You think someone's telling the truth, tell me why you think so. Don't just say, you're wrong, she's lying. That mean anything? Come on, man. Come on, we can do better. We can do better. We can do better. We should try to do better. Whew. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I'll talk to you soon. See you tonight. Until then, don't let nobody take your cornbread. And remember, sprinkle some facts on them. Peace.
Coffee with Tim Black. Coffee with Tim Black.